In 82 games this season, the New York Knicks could not beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. It took them one in 2025.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I'm a New York City native, a credentialed media member that's been covering the Knicks for nearly a decade and the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. He is XJ, the fantastic co-host of the Hot Hand Theory pod, which just came back with their first episode in a few months. So right after you listen to this, go check that out for an even deeper dive on a lot of stuff we ended up seeing in game one. A 119-111 victory for the New York Knicks over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's go. What a way to start the season. This is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving those detailed insight on your favorite team 5 days a week. And be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. On today's show, we're talking about Mike Brown cooking in his New York Knicks debut. Certainly from our perspective, at least, closing with a 5-out lineup featuring Deuce McBride. Did not have Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson as options, so he went with his 5 best players, and it worked beautifully as the Knicks outscored the Cavs 32-24 in the fourth quarter, closed out a 119-111 win. We will talk about big nights from Mikal Bridges, from OG Anunoby, from some of the youngsters, Tyler Kolek, Ariel Hukporti, and it's all coming up right now on Locked On Knicks. So, XJ, this is your wheelhouse, man. I will leave it to you. What did you think about that finish from the Knicks?
I think Mike Brown is a fan of Locked On Knicks. I think Mike Brown is a fan of Hot Hand Theory. I think Mike Brown and I are going to be buddies this year because what we saw was Deuce McBride plus the regular 4 starters dominate the game. And make no mistake about it, they dominated the game. Obviously, they played around 7 minutes, so there's only so much you can do in 7 minutes. They were +6 across those 7 minutes, played at a high-speed pace, high offensive effectiveness, excellent defensive effectiveness, despite some shakiness in the final 4 minutes, which we can talk about. And they closed the game. And like you said, no Josh Hart, no Mitchell Robinson. Obviously, that situation, hopefully, knock on a whole bunch of wood everywhere, it won't be the case much in the future. But in this situation, like you said, Mike Brown went with his 5 best players to close the game, and they performed. And the lineup looks like, everything I and many others thought it could be. And I hope we see a bunch more of it. I hope this is encouraging. This is against the best team in the Eastern Conference last season, a dominant team, like you mentioned in the intro, a team that the Knicks could not defeat. And they took them out. And they took them out with really, really effective play, a lot of different lineups. And we'll talk about some of that stuff. But really, to me, my biggest takeaway was Deuce plus the starters, extremely effective and borderline dominant in the minutes that they played, especially in the first half, really ran the Cavs off the floor. So, yeah, I'm super excited to see what I just saw, and hopefully we see it a lot more.
Yeah, I'll acknowledge what happened in this game just confirmed my preconceived biases of what I thought were wrong with last year's team. So I might be a little too high on the 1 game sample size, but the Knicks just did everything in this game that we were told over and over again for reasons that didn't really make sense. They weren't allowed to do last year, including, again, maybe we'll see if this is actually like a consistent thing under Mike Brown when he has to pick between Deuce, Josh, and Mitchell Robinson versus Deuce and Ariel Hukporti. But closing with Deuce, and it just made the Knicks so difficult to guard at the end of this game. And you saw Cleveland over and over again, because the Knicks have arguably the best closer on planet Earth in Jalen Brunson, blitz him to take the ball out of his hands, and the Knicks were able to find just really easy buckets off of that, with Brunson getting off the ball, giving it to Mikal Bridges, led to what was ultimately the game-sealing 3 where he probed, sprayed it into the right corner. OG Anunoby, that was like the second time in the game the Knicks had that exact sequence. OG hit just a back-breaking 3 to make it 113-105 Knicks. And then OG like putting the exclamation point on it after Brunson and Mikal both missed like would-be daggers. Brunson had a left wing three. Mikal had a baseline ISO on Jared Allen that just went in and out. That would have been such a sweet shot after like what was just a fantastic debut for him after such a shaky debut 365 days ago. OG absolutely seals the game. Ed Reed type moment, reading the Cavs inbound. It was going to Evan Mobley. He flies off his man, knocks the ball to Jalen Brunson, keeps running the floor, little double pump reverse, cherry on top of a win that, again, you have the grain of salt that Cleveland was missing 3 of their top 7, right? No Max Strus, no Darius Garland, no DeAndre Hunter. It was very obvious Cleveland was missing those guys. Again, the Knicks were missing their guys too, but like I don't know how you could walk away from this opening game anything but excited. Jeremy Cohen's bold prediction, XJ, on our show coming into the season was that the Knicks would go from far and away the worst bench scoring team in the NBA, 21 points per game last year, to 35 this year. We were debating how feasible that was. The New York Knicks finished this game with, oh my goodness, I thought I would have it in ESPN team stats, but I don't. So I'm just going to do the math in real time. I think it was around 40 bench points. They finished with 13, 28. They finished with, sorry, I got a little excited. 35 bench points, right on Jeremy Cohen's mark. That's exciting. They play 11 guys despite missing 2 surefire pieces of their rotation by the 1 second mark of the second quarter. Again, I don't know if you want to bounce on any of that. You want to stick with the end of the game. There was just so much to like in this one.
Couple of things here. It was very funny to see Kenny Atkinson send a soft double to Jalen Brunson at the end of the game. These weren't even off of pick and rolls. These were just soft doubles where they're bringing 2 to Jalen Brunson with the ball up really, really high. Very ironically, the Knicks' own coach, Mike Brown, when he was the Kings coach, played this same style of defense against Jalen Brunson towards the end of a Sacramento Kings New York Knicks game. And Josh Hart had a field day with the 4-on-3s that he got on the back end of that. That is not a feasible way to attack the Knicks, and they were even more devastating with it with their 5-out lineup. It just is infeasible to blitz Brunson in these situations, and that's something I think we're going to see pay huge dividends as the season goes on when we see this lineup, especially late in games. And maybe Mike Brown will really, really like that, and like that, you know, he can get Jalen Brunson in isolations whenever he wants, because you cannot blitz them. They will just swing, and it's going to a open shooter who probably shoots 40% from wherever he's shooting from. And so that puts you at a huge disadvantage if you're the defense in all of these late game situations. So I really love that. I really love that optionality that the 5-out lineup gives them, especially with Deuce McBride on the court. And then you mentioned the 11 guys playing in the game. That I was so excited about that. It is such a juxtaposition when we're talking 11 guys playing. We're talking keeping starters minutes low. I think only OG Anunoby played over 34 minutes in this game, which was really incredible to see. And we have guys like Tyler Kolek playing a bunch of minutes. Like you said, we maybe we'll talk about it more later, but just in theory, overall, the thematic idea of Mike Brown really enacting everything that, like you said, we were told for various reasons, this stuff can't happen. You can't do it. And you do it, and you beat and you knock off the Cleveland Cavaliers somehow in game 1 to open the season. So all of that's super, super exciting. And I'm sure we'll get into more details as you know, this episode goes on, but like, there's just so much to get into. And to me, I'm not a 1 game sample size kind of guy. Obviously, I'm a huge sample size kind of guy before I make my assessments, but you really couldn't ask for more in the first game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to get into the 2 wings a little bit. OG Anunoby, just incredible. Mikal Bridges, everything I wanted out of the guy when the Knicks traded for him. We'll talk about it in just a sec right here on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Prize Picks. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add just a little bit more excitement to your football life. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. I absolutely love how quick it is. You can make a lineup in under a minute, but probably my favorite part, Prize Picks just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. I had Jalen Hurts this weekend, and he was cooking. It's also just incredibly fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with just one click. And if you're one of those people who does not like injuries potentially ruining your bet, the injury reboot feature will save your life. If your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Today's episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at Built. Here's the thing about Built, guys. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you have to, you might as well get a little something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your neighborhood. I love that with Built. My rent finally works for me. You're earning points every month on everything you already have to pay. So whether I'm grabbing food at my favorite local restaurant or heading to the gym, I'm still earning rewards. And Built just makes everyday life feel almost like a video game. It's actively rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use that link so they know we sent you. All right, guys, we are back, and XJ is back with me following a 119-111 New York Knicks opening night victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think we got to start off in terms of the player spotlights. We'll get to some broader thematic stuff in these individual discussions, but OG Anunoby, just a masterclass of a game on a night where I wrote really early on in my notes that he was moving, particularly on the offensive end of the floor, very stiffly. I'm wondering if that ankle is still bothering him a little bit. And then I look at the final stat sheet. I did not realize XJ in real time he had nearly this good of a game. There was a reason Mike Brown played him 4 minutes more than everyone else, including Jalen Brunson. 24 points, 14 rebounds, which has to be pretty close to a career high on the Knicks. I got to look that up at some point while we're talking. 9 of 17 from the field, 4 for 9 for 3, 2 for 4 from the foul line, a combined 4 stocks in this one, 3 steals, 1 block, 2 assists. I don't even care about the 4 turnovers that he slipped on a wet patch at one point. He was extraordinary in this game.
OG Anunoby was so good, and it's really funny. I laughed when you said you didn't realize that he had this good a game. It was kind of quiet. It was kind of quiet, but it was impactful in so many different ways. He filled up the stat sheet, like you mentioned. The rebounds were the biggest thing that jumped out to me. I think they needed him on the boards. I think in many situations last season, they needed him on the boards, and he wasn't as effective as they needed him to be. And in this case, he really was boxing out, fighting. I loved when they sicked him on Evan Mobley when Evan Mobley was having his way. They're like, let's put OG on him and slow him down. I did feel like the Knicks gave a little bit too much help, and this was a theme under Tibbs, was helping a little bit too much on the stars. When Donovan Mitchell's going like that, help is not really going to slow him down. I mean, it's just going to get a wide open 3 for a guy like Sam Merrill, who's not going to miss those. And the same thing for Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley showed a lot of improvement. It has continued to improve season after season already, which is really a little scary. But OG Anunoby can handle him, and I didn't feel like he needed as much help like Deuce McBride helping off of shooters. But that being said, I loved how OG Anunoby battled with Evan Mobley, fought for rebounds, really was just everywhere, hitting big shots. You mentioned the huge shot, probably the biggest shot of the game, just kind of shut things down at the end to hit that 3 in the corner, and was just effective overall from every spot. So yeah, I loved how OG Anunoby played, and I thought he was the best player of the game, but it was really equitable and egalitarian in terms of who was impactful. Guys took turns. Mikal Bridges had his time. OG Anunoby had his time multiple times, and it was really spread throughout in terms of effectiveness. And I think that's why it kind of seemed like, oh man, OG had a great game, and I didn't even realize, because it was just sprinkled in throughout. And I really love that in terms of the Knicks playing in a sustainable fashion across 82 games to be able to have the record that they need, get a good playoff seeding, have a good matchup, and everybody be healthy and ready to go for the playoffs. So to me, this was really, really nice foreshadowing. And OG Anunoby, who, like you said, maybe didn't even seem like he was his best physical self, performed like his best self regardless. And so I really just love the game from him overall.
By the way, I just looked it up. He's never had more than 10 rebounds, and he's only done that once in a game for the Knicks. Just for a guy who's 6'8", with functionally awesome, at least according to StatMuse, with maybe
I trust it, but that's shocking.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, but you don't remember a lot of big for a guy, and like obviously, look, he's played with Julius Randle, he's played with Mitchell Roberts, he's played with KAT, he's played with some guys who just at some point selfishly just vacuum up rebound. So that's a little bit of a part of it, but that is with a lot of his minutes coming at the four. Like he doesn't always rebound like someone with his like height, strength, length, athleticism should. Tonight he did, and it was absolutely essential. Like I think beating Cleveland is going to take a combination of like modern basketball and 90s basketball, right? The Knicks need to capture, and not even 90s, like 2023 basketball. Like I always think back to that series where the Knicks just brutalized the Cavs, and despite Cleveland making some shifts towards the positive in that direction, particularly just Evan Mobley growing up and being more physical on top of that 3-point shot is terrifying. That's bad news for the Knicks that he's hitting that at the rate that he's hitting that. But I do think the avenue for the Knicks winning that series is brutalizing them on the glass. And then in the minutes where you're not playing with Mitch and you're not playing big, like leaning into the same style of ball Cleveland leans into. And even on a night you didn't have Mitch and you didn't have Josh Hart, like two of the three best rebounders in the NBA, OG makes up for that gap. And that is massive. The defensive playmaking, it always is, but it was crucial in this game. Like this was such a game of runs. Knicks up by a lot. Cleveland closes it to 1. Knicks up by a lot. Cleveland closes it to 1. Back and forth, back and forth. OG was such like a metronome of consistency for the Knicks on both ends. He's not going to shoot 4 for 9 for 3 every night. But I think you just really saw the ways XJ, Mike Brown's offense is going to make life easier for him than it was under Tom Thibodeau, because like his first shot of the game was an ISO, but like very early on, he got a spray 3. We saw him hit. This is a shot I don't even think he would take in the past, like a trail 26-foot 3, and he just very calmly canned it. That was awesome. But some of the dribble handoff stuff from him was really good. Like he got an early bucket where he faked the DHO, shoulder down, driving to Sam Merrill, threw a little up fake, got Merrill, and I think it was Jared Allen to bite. Didn't even realize he was wide open, and then just flipped it in. Like those will come in the course of the offense. Of course, Cleveland would normally have someone like DeAndre Hunter for him. His life will be a little harder if he plays this team in the playoffs, but I thought it was just a sterling performance from him. And then I want to your point, pivot to Mikal Bridges, who I thought benefited in a lot of the same ways. He finishes this game 16 points, 6 assists. The defensive playmaking from Mikal Bridges, we got to talk about 3 steals and 2 blocks, 5 stocks. He maybe had a handful of games in the regular season last year where he hit both those numbers on the same night. Like we've talked all preseason about him being engaged, high activity level. I thought his defense off the ball was back to Phoenix levels in this game. And that combined, like the 6 assists were low. Like he should have had more. Guys were missing wide open shots over and over again. He was able to probe. He set up Deuce a couple of different times. I was really encouraged in like a game where like we were debating yesterday if he was going to average 20 a game. He only took 11 shots in this one, made 6 of them, not a ton of free throws, only 3 threes. Like it was just a quiet monster game, I thought, for Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, welcome back. Welcome back. He is the Phoenix Suns. Mikal Bridges has been resurrected. Off-ball defense clinic. Off-ball defense clinic. Mikal Bridges was so excellent. I loved his activity. He felt like, to me, at some point I'm watching and I'm like, this guy seems like a puppy that's just reached adolescence, that's like trying to figure out like his physical power. He's like, man, I'm so fast. I'm so strong. I can be everywhere. I can sprint. I can run. I can jump. And he's doing all of it and just kind of seemed like he was everywhere defensively. The only time I didn't like his game defensively was a couple times when he was on the ball and was kind of getting beat around screens. As we know, he has a propensity to get beat. But when he's off the ball, he was a menace. And we were talking about turnovers and generating turnovers in our conversation with Chris and some of our over-unders. And I was a little bit lower on what that might look like for the Knicks, and I think we all were. But if OG and Mikal Bridges are going to be like this off the ball, that puts them in a different situation. That puts them in more of a situation where you have your wings being deployed to their best strengths, especially these two guys who are great at digging, great at stunting and recovering, great at recovering out to three-point shooters, great at knowing when to trap when a guy has his back turned and coming and get that steal and run the break the other way. These two guys are both excellent at it. And Mikal Bridges had some of the best activity that I've seen from him as a New York Knick in game 1. And so I am so excited about it. It was an easy 16-point game for Mikal Bridges. No sweat off of his back. All of his energy was really on defense and just creating havoc. And so I think when we talk about their defense and okay, how are they going to look without a guy like Mitchell Robinson, who many of us believe he's going to have to anchor their defense and they're not going to have a great defense without him. If Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby play like this, those two guys can anchor a defense. And when we were promised Wingstop and all of this and that, and it didn't seem to really pan out, it could just be coming a year later. And so that's got to be really exciting.
Yeah, he was just epic. Like this was the vision of when I came out, I think the night of the Mikal Bridges trade, and was saying like, look, this is a lot to pay for him, but it's not so much about him as the individual. It is that like he is the perfect fit to make this team make sense. And that was even before the KAT trade. He's almost even more necessary after you make the KAT trade. And tonight was like the night, like proof of concept of that to me. Like he just had two different awesome sequences in this game, and that's not even including like a really good start to this game where he hit like a corner three on his, like both him, OG Brunson all making their first shots of the season. Him and Brunson both on corner threes. I thought was just a good omen to start the Mike Brown era. He had another offensive rebound to set up a three, but then second quarter, I think Brunson and KAT were both off the floor. Certainly KAT was off the floor. Like a push dribble, 1 foot midi fade over defending defensive player of the year, Evan Mobley, just the confidence to go at, like, again, arguably the most dynamic defender in the league. So
confident.
Yeah, that's sick. Next possession, gap help on Jalen Tyson to pick his pocket, goes coast to coast for a layup. And then the next offensive possession after that, and one 18-footer in Evan Mobley's eye. What a sequence for Mikal Bridges, right? Like, and it's clear he's feeling good. He's thriving. That jump shot is locked the F in. That is awesome. And then in the like third or fourth quarter, like another really good run where he had a DHO to KAT, pop to the corner, gets it back, drive, spray to opposite corner to OG for three. That was again right after Cleveland made their run. That pushed the Knicks lead to 75-60. Donovan Mitchell brought them right back, but that was huge. And I think literally the next play, cooking on just like a fake dribble handoff to Jalen Brunson off of like an inbound. It was like a really good baseline out of bounds play. If this was the design for Mike Brown. Brunson curled around. He faked the handoff, drove, pumped to bait. I think again, it was Allen. Maybe it was Mobley up in the air, slipped to Hukporti for a dunk. Like just him playing at his own pace, being on time. The passing was so smart. And that was the development I expected after he got all those on-ball reps in Cleveland. I thought he was going to be a legitimate second creator. We saw flashes of it when Brunson was out. It just wasn't consistent last year. But if he finds that, this Knicks offense, where that is an area, like that is offensively my biggest concern for this team. Like who can create a shot outside of Jalen Brunson? It's clear that Mikal Bridges, at least within the construct of Mike Brown's offense, can be that second guy. We'll see if it carries against the best defenses in the NBA. Cleveland at full strength, certainly one of them. We'll see if that keeps up. But a bunch more guys to hit on. I'm going to let you talk about Deuce McBride because I know you want to when we come back next on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about one more sponsor of the show. It is our newest friends here at Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. Don't I know it? We've all heard it before. It's just stress. I'm tired. Or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for AD designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette helps you get started. All you have to do is get connected with a board-certified doctor, 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. All right, buddy, floor is yours. Awesome Deuce McBride game, 15 points, 4 of 6 from three, only took 1 2-pointer, missed it, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Just felt like a lot of timely plays on both ends of the floor from Deuce.
A lot of timely plays and especially aggression. That's always what I want to see from Deuce McBride. Aggression from three. I don't care what he shoots from three. He's an elite spacer and he needs to play that way. And the more aggressive he is, the more gravity he's going to have on the perimeter, the more value he's going to confer in those 5-out lineups, the more he'll play. And so I just need to see that aggression. And I saw it. He was taking threes, almost as aggressive as Evan Mobley from three, which is weird to say. But yeah, I love the game from Deuce. A couple things. One is that I feel like this Cavs team is almost weirdly better suited for Deuce when Darius Garland plays, because there's not really a guy he can just be the point of attack defender on against these Cavs. Donovan Mitchell's not a great matchup for him. And so he's kind of in these roles that aren't quite right for him, sort of the inverse of Mikal Bridges last season, where he's like chasing Sam Merrill around and trying to give help. And it's like he can do those things, but those aren't his best. Despite that, he was able to still be effective defensively. Obviously, when he was in the game, the spacing was so much better. The Knicks played a much more up-tempo style of basketball. He led the team in plus minus at a plus 17, which was incredible. And I think he just overall played really well. One note I do want to say, which sort of ties to Deuce McBride, but ties to all of what we've talked about so far, which is an overarching theme is Jalen Brunson off the ball versus Jalen Brunson on the ball. And something that I really, really loved was Mikal Bridges bringing the ball up, and even OG Anunoby brought the ball up a couple times. And I felt like the Knicks offense was so much smoother when Brunson didn't initiate the possession. And I think when Jalen Brunson's on the court and is sort of a spacer and gets the ball off of ball reversals, he becomes so much more dangerous, and the whole team becomes so much more dangerous when it starts in this like kind of weird, unexpected style. It's something that I feel like the league probably will catch up to. But I also feel like Deuce McBride is a beneficiary of that as well, because he's getting a lot more open shots. If you're talking about Jalen Brunson on one wing and Deuce McBride on the other, the attention's getting shaded to one side. And guess what? It's probably going to be the wrong side, because Deuce McBride is just as good a wide open three-point shooter as Jalen Brunson is. So I feel like there are a lot of really promising things that we'll see more of. We're getting our toes wet, and we're gonna finally take a full dip at some point. But our toes wet in the this sounds terrible.
Keep it going.
Our toes wet in the Deuce McBride pool.
Let's go. Your entire podcasting career was leading up to that.
It really was. It led to that moment. No, but seriously, Deuce McBride had just an incredible game, and I honestly I think we're just scratching the surface of his effectiveness. And we'll see when Josh Hart comes back and Mitchell Robinson comes back what things look like. But I think the Knicks are in good hands even with those guys out, because of how good Deuce McBride is looking right now.
I think he's just such a beneficiary from the combination of pace and defensive playmaking, obviously, both of which he perpetuates and then benefits from. But like, to me, that is that is similar to Mikal. And like we traded off talking about like which of those two guys sees the bigger leap from Mike Brown, and they've in turn like impressed publicly, seem like they're the happiest with Mike Brown of anyone on this team. But like he is someone who thrives off chaos, like as any great 3-point shooter does, right? Like if you're a great 3-point shooter, you're at the top of the scouting report, you're going to be tracked every single play. And especially like Deuce, if you don't, and like he has other stuff to his offensive game, but if you're not known for having other stuff to your offensive game, teams are just going to be so locked in on running you off that line at all times. They know, defenders know they're going to be benched. They give you an open three. When there are turnovers, when there are scrambles, when there's a swing to Brunson and he's able to drive and draw two and then swing it around back to you and you get a wide open shot. Like, I just think that was such a benefit for him. Like there was a play where Brunson drove, lost the ball, guys tried to double team in the corner. He rotates to Shamet, rotate to Deuce, straight on three, cash. And then just like the timely threes from Deuce, like just a massive one off a dribble handoff to end that 16-2 Cavs run in the second quarter. In the third quarter, Cleveland ripped off a 19-3 run. And I think that's when, or that was just before they took their first lead. He had another three, ended the third quarter, slides with Donovan Mitchell, forces a tough miss, runs the floor, gets it back, drains a wing three, strips Mitchell, leading to a Clarkson jam on the other end of the floor. Just big play after big play. His impact in the fourth, we always talk about like passive impact with him, was more passive, but him being out there is why you get those 4-on-3s where you then can't go ahead and double Deuce or double Mikal on the ball or OG on the ball when Brunson slips out of the double team, because it's not Josh Hart out there who you could potentially just leave. And you don't have to have someone like Josh Hart. Not that he's not good in those situations, but him on the ball. Anyways, I'm rambling. Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, both subpar nights. I don't know if you want to finish up on that or you want to focus a little more on the young guys, because we just had a revelatory first half, I think, from Ariel Hukporti and his short roll passing, just opening up a dimension you don't get from Mitchell Robinson. Tyler Kolek, this was the most important game of his NBA life, probably the best game of his NBA life so far. So wherever you want to go, it was just a weird, bad game for Jalen and KAT until the fourth quarter were extremely quiet. Both of them made up for it because they were combined 10 for 30 from the field by going 20 of 22 combined from the free throw line. Wherever you want to go from there. I know I opened up a lot of gateways.
No, you're good. I do. I mean, I'll just touch on real quick the KAT and Brunson thing. Obviously, hopefully it goes without saying, I'm not concerned about either one of those guys. Yeah. Jalen Brunson, I thought Jalen Brunson is going to be the one who's adjusting the most. Like, I think that we thought that in the preseason. In game one, it doesn't feel any different. He has the biggest adjustment to make. And he was 1 of 9 from 3. Like, he took some tough threes. He took some makeable threes and missed them. If you go 1 of 9 from 3, sometimes you're going to have a tough game. I will note that for Brunson, he shot 28% from the floor. He only had one game last season shooting under 30% from the field. Wow. A single game, and 2 if you include the playoffs. So this is a very, very rare occurrence, and I thought it's just part of the growing pains, partially just like missing threes. And
he also,
that's going to happen.
All 3 years has gotten off to like bad, or maybe not the first year, but the last 2 years he's gotten off to really bad starts the first 6 games. And then you're like, oh, is something wrong with him? And then he scores 30 the next 8 games.
Yeah. Not worried at all. And I think actually overall in the long run, the different system and approach will benefit him most. Somebody who it did benefit and already, Tyler Kolek, I was so excited to see Tyler Kolek play. In our over-under bet, I bet Tyler Kolek under 20 games with 8+ minutes. Hopefully, I'm completely ridiculously wrong.
We got
and that looks
we got
insane.
Closing. We got turnovers. We checked a lot of boxes tonight.
That's true. Over. Yeah, we really did. But Tyler Kolek looks so good. Oh man, this guy, he's such a skilled passer, and we've known that. But like on the NBA level, it carries over. His ability to drag out the pick and roll, create passing lanes, anticipate the opening, create windows, and it just his timing, his anticipation is excellent. Like he's so good, but he's also really good as a connective passer, which is something that we saw as well. Ball reversals, I think, are going to be critical for this team, being able to get the ball to the other side of the court, because you often have a guy on the weak side like Jalen Brunson who is going to be able to attack off of that swing and not just hit a wide open 3. And even when you do have a guy like Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby, those guys can attack with advantages. And so you get huge advantages when you're able to swing the ball from one side of the court to the other and attack quickly. And if you have a guy like Tyler Kolek, he is able to do that so well, smoothly and successfully, pass on time, on target. And he showed that. He showed his passing skill. Obviously, he can get it to the teeth of the defense as well. So I loved what I saw from Kolek. Hukporti as well, who is very impressive every time he plays, honestly. But these two guys are really, really talented. And I wouldn't be shocked to see 11 guys play more often. Like, I don't think this is a one-time occurrence. So
yeah, it was those two were like, they really caught my eye. I gotta like I got to just admit it. Like I kind of gave up on Kolek over the summer. Really rough summer league. Obviously was very old for rookie, turning 25 at some point during the season. And I was ready to trade him to have Malcolm Brogdon. And look, Brogdon does some stuff with his size, with his physicality defensively, and just with just how reliable of a shooter he is and driver that Kolek just is not maybe ever going to hit as an NBA player, even with Brogdon being at such an advanced age. There's also stuff that Tyler Kolek brings to the table that Malcolm Brogdon doesn't. And you nailed it. Like he is a genius passer. I described him all throughout last year. If you could just, in the same way you'd make the argument for Kendall Marshall once upon a time, if you could just isolate passing as a raw skill, I would put him top 10 to 15 in the NBA. He's a genius passer, had a sick one between two defenders for a trailing OG for a jam. That was one of my favorite plays of the entire night. The 3 he hit in Jared Allen's eye was like, I think the loudest I screamed, maybe other than that last OG dunk this entire game. Like that was just it for a guy who just couldn't make open threes all last year and all summer league. That was an awesome moment for him. Like just a gutty shot after Jordan Clarkson inexplicably wasted 18 seconds of the shot clock. That was really cool. And then this is a play I think you were referencing with the ball reversals where he can just like create a 3 off of just like ball fakes. It was 1950s basketball. He fakes a pass like right to the middle. The defense kind of congeals to the middle. Then he zips it to the corner to Deuce. Deuce throws it back to him. He rips it to the corner to Shamet, the opposite corner, right corner to Shamet for a three. That was sick. Some of the late drives, that physical, like bounce off drive off KAT in the third quarter, hit another like push dribble banker to make it 103-94. He was awesome. Shout out to what KAT did in the third quarter or early fourth quarter. KAT just really impactful buckets, rolling to the rim, had the Donovan Mitchell high pickup on Evan Mobley. Fitting he did that against the Cavs. And Hukporti, like maybe I'll talk about it more on tomorrow's show, but I am like, there's just a legitimate ball skills advantage you get with him versus Mitch. Obviously, there's a million things that Mitch does on levels Hukporti will maybe never dream of touching in an NBA game, but his ability on the short roll to create buckets, like the first one of the game was a short roll off of an OG screen or screening for OG to get Brunson in the corner for three, and then had another one where Mikal hit him. He took 2 steps, threw it over the top to KAT for a dunk. Like, that is fun. It adds a really exciting element where you can be big but still be skilled. For Mike Brown, we barely got that lineup, if at all, him and KAT together last year. I hope we see quite a bit of it over the course of the year. I'm fascinated if he's going to be in the every night rotation. I think he probably won't, but we will see when Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson get healthy. He's XJ. I'm Gavin. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big night 1 victory for your New York Knicks. We'll be back all week long with a whole bunch more coverage.